Dominica ravaged by Hurricane Maria, but the full picture is yet to emerge. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, September 19. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Hurricane Maria on Monday night delivered a devastating blow to Dominica, the full extent of which is still not known as communication systems across the island are down. But Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has reported widespread devastation on the island that has still not completely recovered from the damage done by Tropical Storm Erica in August 2015. And he says Dominica will need help of all kinds to recover, as the island has lost all that money can buy and replace. The Category 5 hurricane passed right over the island, bringing 160-mile-per-hour sustained winds that ripped roofs off buildings, including the official residence of Prime Minister Skerrit. He shared his experience as the hurricane made landfall through a series of posts on Facebook. Skerrit described hearing the fury of merciless winds and the sound of galvanized flying before reporting that his roof had blown off, his house was flooded, and he was left at the mercy of Hurricane Maria. Shortly after, he reported he had been rescued. His last Facebook post came after 1 a.m. on Tuesday, when he said there were initial reports of widespread devastation. But his biggest fear was the possible injuries and deaths as a result of likely landslides triggered by Maria's persistent rains. Skerrit wrote, and I quote, "I am honestly not preoccupied with physical damage at this time because it is devastating indeed, mind-boggling. My focus now is in rescuing the trapped and securing medical assistance for the injured. We will need help, my friend. We will need help of all kinds." End of quote. That was the last communication from the Prime Minister. But Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Response Agency, Ronald Jackson, said there has been some information about the areas most affected. He shared that information at a press conference on Tuesday evening with meteorologists at Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, Kathy Ann Caesar.
Communications with Dominica would have been challenging after about 2 o'clock and virtually non-existent, I would say, by 3 a.m. This morning. However, we have been able, through the amateur radio operators, to get some contact into Dominica over the course of this afternoon, early afternoon, which indicated to us that there was severe damage to Marigot. And that's a town on the sort of northeastern side of the island. So that has been confirmed. Kathy would have described the hurricane. One of the things we recognized was it traversed through the southeast side of the island and exited on the northwest, which meant that the eye would have impacted significantly the island. And if anyone understands the geography of Dominica and the complexity of settlement in Dominica, what you are looking at is a potential for significant damage to housing and infrastructure in an island that was already reeling from 2013 December flood rains, 2015 impact of Tropical Storm Erica, and several localized flood incidents which would have removed Bailey bridges put in place post-Erica. So you're looking at a challenging environment made worse by the effects of Hurricane Maria. And so we have identified that there is certainly a number of communities right around the island, coastal as well as some internal communities. And on that list, an area of significant concern for us is the area referred to as the Kalinago area, where the Caribs occupy. Simply because the housing infrastructure there is quite, let me say, not as resilient as we would want them to be. And so we are certainly concerned about the persons living in that area, specifically between Castle Bruce to Atkinson. So that's one of the areas we're monitoring. However, there are quite a number of communities along the east as well as on the north, which are going to be affected by both the storm surge as well as flooding conditions, in particular Roseau, which reported overflowing of the Roseau River as early as prior to midnight last night. And with the rain and the ice sitting over the island of Dominica, that would have perhaps been made worse over the course of last night into this morning.
Jackson said SEDIMA is also concerned that accessing the affected communities would be a major hurdle.
So Roseau and the towns that are to the south of Roseau are likely to be impacted, as well as face challenges in terms of access via road. Further south of that, Scott's Head, the only access to Scott's Head is via Roseau. So if Roseau goes, then that entire community is inaccessible via road. What it means, therefore, is that the operations in Dominica are going to be extremely complex. We are anticipating a series of landslides and rockfalls all over sections of Dominica, which will make accessing some of these communities very difficult via road, via foot. We're looking at somewhere in the region of close to 69,000 to 70,000 persons. The population figure we have indicates 69,250, but we can give or take a few hundreds, given that populations increase and decrease over a census period. And we're anticipating that all persons in Dominica will face either direct or indirect challenges from the impact of the hurricane. Shelter issues, access issues, relief distribution issues is going to be complex. We are looking then at a number of ways that we're going to have to deal with the operations on the ground: air, sea, and land. And air here not being fixed-wing aircraft, but rotary helicopters, identifying appropriate landing sites for helicopter, which is going to make the relief operations a little bit slower than you would see in some of the other member states that have been impacted by Irma. So to date, SEDIMA has activated the regional response mechanism. We have an aerial reconnaissance that is currently taking place. The regional security systems have flown a team, including a SEDIMA damage assessment person, to the affected country to get a better sense of what's happening there, given the communications challenges, to take some aerial photography of the island so that we can better plan for the operations that are to take place.
Well, several residents took to social media sharing their harrowing experience as the hurricane barreled its way through the island. Senior counsel of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court and former president of the Bar Association of Dominica, Anthony Astafan, was one of those recounting their experience before the lines of communication went down.
You may not be able to see me, you can see me now. Well, brother, sister, comrade, and friend, the wind was savage. We lost the roof. I have my total upstairs, the ceiling and everything collapsed on it. The roof is gone. I have 2 inches of water downstairs. My upstairs is completely leaking. All of my electrical features have water coming through them. It's been a horrible night. The strong winds have just stopped. I don't know what's next in store for us. But my God, I can only feel the pain of those that don't have a house like I have. It was terrible, and I just hope people didn't die. But we are okay. My mother's fine, my brother's fine, my cousin and his daughter are fine. And my lovely wife and my beautiful son are safe in Florida. Just don't have a home to come to now.
Meantime, there has also been a communication blackout in nearby Guadeloupe, which was also pounded by Hurricane Maria. Maria lashed Guadeloupe's southern shores as it tracked northwest toward the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Video footage released by the Guadeloupe Prefecture showed tree bending winds whipping through deserted streets and shaking lampposts when the storm first hit. Guadeloupe Prefect Eric Marie said there were some early reports of flooding, flooded houses and submerged roads. But the nearby French island of Martinique escaped Hurricane Maria largely unscathed. France's head of civil protection and crisis response, Jacques Witkowski, said reconnaissance operations were still underway, but already they could see there was no significant damage. After causing devastation in Dominica and pounding Guadeloupe, the potentially catastrophic Category 5 Hurricane Maria is now headed for the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. At 5 p.m., the hurricane, with maximum sustained winds near 165 miles per hour, was about 80 miles southeast of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands and 175 miles southeast of San Juan, Puerto Rico. It was moving towards the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. Maria is forecast to remain an extremely dangerous Category 4 or 5 hurricane until it moves near or over the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. At a press conference on Tuesday evening, meteorologists at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, Kathy and Caesar, explained what the Caribbean could expect from Maria for the rest of the night and over the next 2 days.
Extend about 35 miles, and this would put the British Virgin Islands and the Virgin Islands in the projected area of hurricane force winds. We also see a lot of banding, that is thunderstorm and shower banding to the rear of the storm that continues to affect Dominica as we speak. This is expected to continue throughout the night, and some areas of the lower Caribbean, Barbados and Lucia, may experience a few lingering showers, gradually improving throughout the day. Of concern would be storm surge. We expect storm surge to be in the region of 1 to 2 meters above high wave heights in the range of 10 meters and above. So then you're looking at some of the south and western coasts of the islands being impacted by extraordinary high wave heights. These wave heights, some of the lingering wave heights can go as far south as Grenada and in Trinidad and Tobago because of the position of the storm within the Caribbean Sea. As the projected track continues to the west-northwest, we expect sometime on Thursday, for Wednesday into Thursday, for it to move over Puerto Rico into the Atlantic Ocean and track towards the Turks and Caicos Islands. Current model projection does have Turks and Caicos within the bands, but it's still a few days out. So we're looking at a better projection coming into Wednesday night to see what is happening with TCI. We expect the system to then move north and go along the coast of the U.S.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, rescue and aid efforts begin for hurricane-ravaged Dominica. Stay with us. There's more news after the break. Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today.
Come, sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Shh. Look, listen, feel. Realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
Welcome back. The Barbados-based Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, has started sending teams to Dominica, which, as we told you earlier, was hard hit by Hurricane Maria on Monday night. Executive Director Ronald Jackson said SEDEMA activated its regional response mechanism, and a rapid assessment team, a search and rescue official, and a communications kit was due to fly out to Dominica on Tuesday evening. A Barbados Coast Guard vessel was also due to depart at 6 p.m. to take some of SEDEMA's response team members.
We anticipate that they will arrive in Dominica by first light, between 5 and 6 a.m. That will boost the sort of rescue operations that we will have on the ground coming from external sources, recognizing that between the all clear this morning and this afternoon, access into that airspace and also via marine vessels would have been challenged by the conditions at sea and the cloud cover and visibility issues. We also are deploying part of our CARICOM disaster relief unit today. The rest will join over the course of tomorrow, and we'll ramp that up on Thursday as required, and they will be taking along a cache of supplies that we've sourced here in Barbados. So we're sending the Coast Guard vessel with personnel, with supplies, again to ensure that we can get some resources into Dominica.
Meantime, the Trinidad and Tobago government is also mobilizing to send assistance to Dominica. According to a statement from the Office of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, a helicopter will be sent to the Eastern Caribbean island with Defence Force personnel. It said the Coast Guard is also preparing to send a vessel to take Defence Force personnel as well as supplies. And while Barbuda is still in the early stages of recovering from the equally devastating Hurricane Irma that decimated the island 2 weeks ago, the government is extending a hand of assistance to Dominica. Prime Minister Gaston Brown thanked God for sparing his country from the wrath of another Category 5 hurricane. And in a telephone interview with CMC News on Tuesday morning, he said that although Barbuda has a long recovery process ahead, he stands ready to provide support to Dominica.
Notwithstanding our own problem here in Antigua. As you know, Barbuda was actually decimated just over a week ago. I spoke with PM Skerritt early this morning, just after he lost his roof. And I assured him of the full support of Antigua. And I say Antigua here because, Barbuda is out of circulation.
Brown said arrangements are being made to get to Dominica by helicopter as soon as possible. He also indicated that Antigua would serve as a hub to get food and resource personnel into Dominica.
We'll be arranging a chopper as soon as practicable this morning to fly into Dominica to assist, and that will be, funded by the government of Antigua. And certainly anything that we can do to assist, we have recently released supplies here that we're willing to share with them. We will certainly assist. Now, even though several of the islands have been devastated in the past 2 weeks, we must remain strong, must remain hopeful, and certainly faithful. As far as I'm concerned, we are a resilient people who will rise from the ashes to rebuild better and certainly more prosperous and climate-resilient countries.
Brown was scheduled to leave Antigua on Monday to attend a meeting of the United Nations General Assembly, and he says he still plans to go and will address the meeting on Thursday, focusing on the issue of climate change.
Having said that, all is not lost. I am hoping to travel tomorrow because, as you recognize, Antigua was spared the worst of the storm. And on that basis, I'll still have the opportunity to address the General Assembly on Thursday. And you can be assured that the issue of climate change will be one of the major issues that I will address.
And ahead in Caribbean Newsline, the recovery from the destruction caused by Hurricane Irma continues. Stay with us. There's more news after this.
It's not always that a side would have lost the cricket series 2-1 and the final test by 9 wickets at that, and yet was being praised. But that was the case of the West Indies, which ended the test series against England at Lord's in defeat, but surely not in ignominy. And the reason might have been that before the series started, the team was dubbed no-hopers and described by pundits as the worst team from the Caribbean.
This ornate wrought iron fence proved almost fatal to an 11-year-old mixed breed terrier. He tried to leap over it and didn't make it, becoming impaled in the process. Local firefighters and hospital workers arrived quickly on the scene and freed the animal, cutting a 3-by-2-foot section of the fence with the dog attached. Now they need to get the injured pooch to the veterinary hospital quickly.
Come, sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Shh, look, listen, feel, realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
The region is still cleaning up from Hurricane Irma, which impacted the northern Caribbean 2 weeks ago. One of those places practically decimated by the Category 5 hurricane was the Bahamian island of Ragged Island. And CARICOM Chairman Dr. Keith Mitchell says the region is standing behind the residents of the tiny island. The Grenadian leader gave that assurance as he toured the hurricane-battered island, which government has declared uninhabitable.
In its history as a result of the recent passage of Hurricane Irma, the island's Foreign Minister Darren Henfield has confirmed. Henfield has reported that more than 1,200 persons were relocated from the southeastern side of Bahamas as the deadly Category 5 hurricane spun its way through the region. The Foreign Minister made the disclosure to a visiting delegation from CARICOM on Saturday, which included Chairman Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell and Secretary General Erwin LaRocque.
It speaks volumes to how drastic these systems can be when you have to displace so many of your nationals. And we really believe in the Bahamas that these systems are becoming more ferocious due to climate change. And so we stand in solidarity with CARICOM in addressing these issues of climate change and graduation. And tomorrow we will go and have a look at the most affected island in the country, which is Ragged Island, which is a small, quaint fishing village in the southeastern Bahamas that was completely decimated.
Most affected was Ragged Island, a small fishing territory located on the southern side of the country.
This is the government clinic. You can see it's completely destroyed. The roof is off. In the back is the church. Administration buildings. This is the central Duncan town, which is the capital of Ragged Island. And our prime ministers deemed it uninhabitable at the moment, and they're going to make it a green city.
The majority of about 100 residents who live on the island were evacuated, leaving about 8 persons to ride out the storm, which battered and flattened mostly everything in its path.
So how did you make it the night of this?
We have a basement in the house. So we went down in the basement.
Well, that was, let's just say, I can't even explain it. It was scary. At the same time, it was expected, because the Category 5, I think it was a little beyond that actually, but that was like
This looks like a ghost town now. You all have done some good.
Not really, Most of the homes you see here, most of them are abandoned homes, and most of the structures that got destroyed are more of the older homes that were on here, on the island. We expected that they couldn't take that kind of damage and stuff like that. So, but most of the newer model homes you see, they still standing, and they just got like damage to the roof and stuff.
Major hurricane I've been in like this, but I've been in a few hurricanes.
It's the worst.
This the worst. Something like that, because I survived this one. I don't think y'all could have made it.
The CARICOM delegation touched down on hurricane-ravaged Ragged Island 24 hours after a trip to Grand Turks, capital of the Turks and Caicos Islands, which suffered a multi-island hit from Irma. Last week, the CARICOM chairman led his team to Barbuda, British Virgin Islands, and Anguilla, which also faced the wrath of Irma.
When we were destroyed in Grenada, every visitor that came by, particularly leadership of the region that came to Grenada in 2004, it lifted us up, it lifted our spirits because we were battered in the true sense of the word. So, as fate has it, I'm chairman of CARICOM at this time, and when more countries have been battered in one hurricane than we have ever seen before. And given our experience, maybe it's, in a sense, fate is playing out itself.
The CARICOM delegation is reported to be planning a third trip to Haiti and Cuba, which also suffered significant damage from Irma. Roll Titus reporting.
In the French island of Saint Martin, the lives of residents are gradually improving following the hit by Irma. The island's telephone network is almost fully restored, and a third of inhabitants have electricity again. We get more in this special report from our partners over at France Caraïbes Broadcast.
It's been a week since Hadel desperately tries to reach his island. As he calls it and sees the rock along the coast is a tear for him.
I left everything. I came here. My children were born here. My life I spent here.
This sadness the people have lived through the cyclone have for the most part overtaken. The routes are every day more practical. We can come to refill water to the sisters, and the gasoline is no longer rationed, and in the neighborhood of Orleans, a medical consultation even resumed. This doctor can finally cure his patients. He found the way to recover drugs through official channels, but not only.
Half of them come from the hospital by my own means, and the other half was brought by the pharmacist or the firefighters. More few patients who brought me stuff they recovered from looting.
Relief for this mom, a 3-year-old son, Matteo, can finally be taken care of.
Since last week he has diarrhea. Water, sweet water, in small quantities but often.
Little by little, the daily improves, and last night a wonderful surprise awaited the inhabitants of Orion Bay.
We have electricity! This will allow to have a refrigerator, to have air conditioning, to have showers. We really try to see the positive everywhere, but that is great. It's really very positive.
3 hours later, there's dinner and delight for Gabriel, Matthew, Bérangère and their friends, all to their joy.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and Carib Vision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But before we go, we share with you how people around the Caribbean have used social media to pledge their solidarity for Dominica and send well wishes to the island's residents, even as reports and images from the hurricane-devastated nation are still to come in. It's clear from these posts that Dominica is in the heart and the thoughts of its Caribbean brothers and sisters.
I see his face so clearly, I hear his broken screams, and every night he's right here in my dreams. This stranger is my brother, I know we feel the same. You see, I know his home, his family, I just don't know his name. Dominica, hold on, Dominica, hold on. Even though what you've lost is quite a lot, hold on to what you got. Hold on, hold on. And when your spirit say fight and your flesh say no dice, obey your spirit's voice. I know the devastation could weigh you down, and inside your heart the flood water rages on. Still, Dominica, hold on, hold on. To follow their drenched and broken dreams, the future is as gloomy as it seems. But from the little baby up to the grieving man, if you need something to hold on to, then you can hold my hand. For when you weep, I weep, and when you smile, I smile. So when the storm rages on, then something drown inside me. And when you laugh, I laugh, and when you're sad, I'm sad. And when you're merry and glad, that is the time when I'm happy. You see, we share the same culture.
Four campuses, one university. Caribbean Matters. You, we, this is UE TV. Coming up next on UBTV,
the Institute of International Relations St. Augustine campus hosted a guest lecture series. The guest speaker was Dr. the Honorable Gail Rigobert, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development of St. Lucia. Her topic was Upping Your Game in the New Global Digital Economy.
Let me thank you for making yourselves available so that we can exchange some ideas on what I think to be a very important topic. And as it were, we will be celebrating the 38th anniversary of our independence. And usually at that time of year, there is always some reason to reflect, and aptly so. And as I did my own reflection, it dawned upon me that concerns as to whether or not independence was real or imagined, and whether it had any exclusive meaning for a small island state such as ours, that perhaps those debates had run their course. And it is now incumbent upon us at this juncture to, one, recognize where we are right now, but more importantly, understanding what the global political economic landscape offers us, that we need to be just a little more proactive in charting our course. And in suggesting that we give some deeper thought to charting our course, when I say our, I mean as a nation, and our course as individuals. And that reflection, therefore, brought me to a topic, which you've seen in the flyer, up in your game in the new global digital economy. And for those of you who may not know, in the tail years of my stint in academia, I developed an intimate concern for our development as small island states, and became very excited when, at the turn of the 21st century, we were being told that given the new technological revolution, that we were seeing the emergence of new information and communication technologies that would perhaps serve as the vehicle out of our underdevelopment. And much of my doctoral work focused on that subject matter. But curiously, given where I find myself now, I have reason to believe that there may have been some merit in that academic investigation, but in the real world of politics, being concerned for the lives of people, should we not ask the question whether it is that indeed the ICTs and the artifacts that they offer us allow for us to emerge out of our underdeveloped status, and how much of that then requires for active involvement on our part versus outsourcing our well-being to entities out there, be it institutions or other countries or the mother country, our colonial masters. And therefore, what does that mean for us as individuals? And that is how I arrived at the topic, up in your game, in the new global digital economy. And it is because, thanks to globalization and all that connotes, no government in any part of the world can give its citizenry the assurance that it has exclusive right to a job in the country in which we are born. No government can do that anymore. And what does that mean? It means that as a global village, that if and or when an opportunity becomes available, it is not your birth certificate that will give you right of access to that opportunity. In our own jurisdiction, citizens of the OECS and citizens of CARICOM may have equal right of access to that opportunity. The pressure that is upon us, therefore, to up our game is twofold. We need to up our game because we need to remain competitive and relevant in our own jurisdiction, but also it is necessary that we up our game because of the fact that we find ourselves in a global marketplace and other persons from outside the rock may very well be eligible to play a significant role in the development of our own country. I used to say to my students when I was here, like what seems a long time ago now, and this may be a little depressing for you, but believe it or not, it is not your UE certificate that will guarantee you a job. Ouch. So why are we here? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, albeit that perhaps you are part of the privileged 5 or 7% of St. Lucians who are able to access tertiary education, because St. Lucia is not an exclusive zone, you find yourselves as part and parcel of a wider global community of persons who hold a certificate of similar weight. How then do you differentiate that which you bring to your potential employer from that which others may be offering? Is it in the totality of that certificate? Or are there other things that will enable you to make it across the finish line ahead of the pack? And believe you me, it is those things. And you've heard it elsewhere, but I must repeat. Team building skills, interpersonal skills, problem solving skills, and critical thinking skills. And why are these things so important? I don't know of many or any profession, as a matter of fact, that allows for you to operate as if you were an independent silo. Everything that you do, every undertaking, of necessity will require that you engage with other persons. But what if you have what I call a barbed wire personality? That everybody who comes into contact with you, from whichever angle they approach you, they get scraped or scratched. You've got a barbed wire personality. You can't get very far with a barbed wire personality. So no matter how intelligent you are, how gifted you are, if you can't get along with people, you won't get very far. Empathy and compassion. There is no course. There is no course delivered on this campus or anywhere else in empathy and compassion. But these two things can make or break you. It speaks to your humanity It speaks to your deeper being, who you are as a person, how you see yourself in this world, and how you see yourself in relation to others. And very importantly, within the context of our nationhood, how much of a sacrifice are you willing to make for the greater good? The greater good of all. For the greater good of your nation. For the greater good of your community. I know many of you must be thinking, well, I came here to arm myself with a first degree so I can go home and have a big job, buy myself a beautiful car, have a great home, get married, have 1.5 kids. Yeah? That's the middle class equation, isn't it? Well, I don't know how much value there is in that if you put a full stop after that. Of necessity, you put a comma, and then you add to that my contribution to this generation and my contribution to the next generation. Because the privileges you enjoy now are possible because people made sacrifices for us. That is how we find ourselves here. They sacrificed their own personal comfort and well-being so that you and I can live a more comfortable life in this time. So the question is, as we turn 38, what provision are you and you and you and you, and what provision are we making for the next generation of St. Lucians, the next generation of Caribbean citizens? What contribution are you making? And admittedly, the certificate may speak to some level of academic exposure to certain subject matters, but does that speak to the totality of your being as a person and as a citizen? We're required to do more. That does not mean that you have to enter the dungeon of politics like I have. You leave that to the called, the few, and the chosen. Or some may say the slightly insane. But there are so many other things that you can do. Because we know of the biblical edict, which is, much is expected of those who've been given much. So you've been given much. You have the privilege of sitting within the hallowed walls of the University of the West Indies, our premier tertiary institution in the region. Your journey here cannot be limited to getting a certificate after 3 years. That's the commercial side. There's a deeper call upon your lives. And you must search your soul. What more can I give? What more do I have to give? In 2009, in April of 2009, 11 months after I'd lost my father to cancer, my mother departed without notice.